Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition. As Grace coughs right when we start the show, it's fine because I can edit all this out. You're good. So, I'm just kidding. Half the time I sneeze or I'm looking off camera. But we want to welcome you guys to another edition of Social Media News Live. We did not have a show last week. We took a little vacation, and
we did not take one.
Well, I did. I was lumping you.
Home.
You didn't have to do a show. That's the thing. So.
I love doing shows with you, though.
I know. So, but I had a great time. In fact, if you got my email, and you can get our emails, by the way, to get reminder of the show if you go to socialmedianewslive.com. And one of the things is I was on the new Disney Wish, the new boat, and so I have some pictures there if you want to check that out. And we got our friend Gary Stockton in the house saying, "Good morning, you beautiful people from Huntington Beach, California, cruising into the weekend." I just got off a cruise, Gary, so I've got to get to work. So, and our friend Brian Farrell says, "Good evening, lovely people." Brian, where are you at? Are you in Barcelona? Where are you at today? Because he is a world traveler. Never know where he's tuning in from. But before we get started, I wanted to give a big shout out to our friends over on at Shure, because they sent me, and I'll put myself up full screen, which I hardly ever do, this brand new microphone. It's limited edition. It's their white MV7. It's just like their black one, but this is a limited edition, and it's their Nor version of their microphone. So I think it sounds really, really good, and it looks really, really cool. So if you have that really awesome, like YouTube-ish, like stark aesthetic Apple kind of feel, this is the microphone for you. Because look how nice it looks. Grace, do you like it? I mean, I don't trust my taste, but I know that you have a better taste than I do.
I like that you sound so buttery smooth. Like
I
just
try.
You came on and it was very smooth. I like it. See, I wasn't aware that the white microphone is a new aesthetic. Like,
yeah, so this is a pre-release. It doesn't actually go on sale until the 15th on Monday, but you can go into Amazon. If you go to jeffc.live, you can go to our Amazon channel and you can check out all the stuff down below, and I have it highlighted right now, so you can pre-order it on Amazon. But it's cool. I think it looks nice. And Tim goes, "Are you sure?" Yes, I am, Tim. I am very sure. Way to go with the puns there. And Sabrina, I'm going to go back to our thing here, and I'll bring up the microphone a little bit. But Sabrina says, "Hi, it's me, Sabrina." Sabrina, thank you so much for showing up today. Let's see, what else do we have? Buttery smooth. Now, see, we've already started talking about food, and I'm hungry. So, and then there's my pal Ian Anderson Gray watching from the UK. Very nice. So
and we have your cruising buddy. I have a feeling that that's Lou, right?
Uh-oh.
Good morning. I'm Jeff's number one fan and cruising
it's
buddy.
Probably, yeah, it's Lou. That's Lou Mongello. I was on his podcast, which we talked all about the Disney Wish. So make sure you guys go to WDW Radio and check that out, because that was a fun show. We did a live show as well. You can check out his Facebook channel for that. But enough about me and what I have done. We have Corey Walker in the house today. This is going to be a great show because she has literally written 2 books on Instagram. And that being said, if you do follow us over on Amazon, I have her books down below in the carousel that you guys can check out. So you can, I think there's Kindle versions, right, Corey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is.
Very cool. So I did come back from the cruise, and it's crazy. Grace, how are you doing today? I'm sorry I've been talking so much, but
oh no, it's been great. I'm glad to have you back. I did miss you last week. It was just, and then I didn't get to talk to you much this week because you were like recovering from your cruise.
It was crazy times. So Sabrina, I'll let you before we get started. She goes off topic, but Grace, that necklace is everything.
I'm trying to get okay. I can't because of our setup. Like the microphone is in the way, so I don't. But then if I go this way, there you go. See, there you go.
Look at that. We should add that on Amazon.
I should add this on Amazon. I should add it on Amazon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's pure art.
If you guys need an Amazon Live consultant and Jim and Chris are busy, ask Jeff. Just kidding.
I'm more than happy to help. So anyway, let's go ahead and start the show. Grace, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Corey, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let me hit go on the podcast machine, and we will get started. By the way, will you do us a favor and tell a friend about this show? Let them know. Call them in. If they're like, I don't know, understand this Instagram, it's the dumpster fire, what's happening? This is the show for you. So call them in down below. Just mention them so they know that we'll be talking about this today. They can watch the replay or watch us live, whatever. It's all good. So here we go. Podcast machine's going. Here we go. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Grace Duffy, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the world of social media. And on today's show, we have the lovely and brilliant Corey Walker here with us. She co-wrote the book Instagram for Dummies with our buddy Jen Herman. Yep, I'll make sure I said that right. And if you have been on Instagram lately, you may have noticed a few changes over the past few months. Things like more videos, more recommended content as opposed to your friends and family content, more features that you may or may not know about, and then also an influx of ad content. And so we've invited Corey here to join us today to help us make sense of all of these updates and update reversals when it comes to Instagram, and also talk to us about how we should make sense of it as content creators, as businesses, as brands, as consumers, as people that just used to love Instagram or still love Instagram or want to love it again.
Yes. Yeah. So, Corey, I'm so excited because we haven't, we always touch base at Social Media Marketing World, but it's been a minute. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I've been very busy and lots of work. We just actually wrapped the second edition of Instagram for Dummies. So we have 2 editions of the business book and then 2 editions now of the Dummies book. And that one will go on sale in November. So busy with that.
Very cool. So can you tell people your Instagram handle? Because, you're killing it on Reels, and I want to make sure people who are listening to the podcast know where to find you on Instagram.
Sure. It's at Corey C. Walker. So I think you might have my name up there later, but it's COREYC and then Walker.
Awesome. So we want to make sure that's clear for the people who are listening on the podcast. But if you don't know Corey, I want to introduce you to her. She is the co-author, as we mentioned before, of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. So if you're a dummy in any aspect, you should be covered. So it's the how-to guide for using Instagram to market your businesses. And she owns The Marketing Specialist, a digital marketing agency in El Dorado Hills, California. And she works with several clients to produce social media strategies, including creating graphics and written content, advising on video, scheduling content, buying ads, and tracking analytics, pretty much everything under the sun. And she helps them achieve success in the online world. But I also want to do a big shout out before we get deep into the weeds today with our friends over on Ecamm. You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. They're the ones that make this show possible, so a big shout out to them. They also have a brand new podcast called The Flow, and it's everything if you want to know how to launch, produce, and promote a video podcast. This is the way to get started. So they dive into it in the Flow podcast. So it's hosted by our friends Doc Rock and Katie Fox, and it's a weekly show. It's on YouTube every Tuesday and at 12 p.m. Eastern, but it's also a podcast on your favorite player. I know that we'd love it if you would subscribe, give them a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. So, Grace, with that being said, get us started in this crazy IG stuff going on.
Yes, well, we brought Corey on today to help us make sense of these Instagram updates. There's been a lot of changes that have led users to criticize the direction the social media. Excuse me. All right, you're gonna have to take this over. Hold on. Sorry.
Well,
oh my gosh, I've
good.
Just gotten stuck. Yeah. Okay.
So excited.
So excited. I'm so excited. Okay, let's start over. So we invited Corey here today to help us make sense of all of these Instagram updates. So there have been a lot of recent changes that have led people to criticize the direction of the social media platform. So I want to invite the people that are watching us live to tell us in the comments how you feel about Instagram these days. Be honest. Let us know, right? Because Corey's here to answer all of our questions. And so there's this great tweet from Meg Watson. She's a culture reporter at The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. And she's like, the new Instagram update really understood what I was looking for. None of my friends' content, reposted TikToks from meme accounts I don't follow, 100 times more ads, and everything played at full volume against my will, which I thought was hilarious. And so, they've rolled back up. So they've rolled updates for Reels, recommendations, and then the full screen that she was talking about. And then we saw some of their, some feeds have expanded full, and they have this duet feature, and these are all kind of cool, but, then people got little salty about it, and then they rolled back these changes, but then not really. And then as the CEO was saying, like, okay, we're rolling back these changes, up comes Mark Zuckerberg and says, we're the parent company, and this is the way, like, your recommended posts, which are the ones that are recommended to you, not the ones people that you're necessarily following, will double by the end of 2023. So kind of going against what Adam Azari was saying, that like, no, we're just experimenting, we're just testing, we want to see how it'll work. And Mark Zuckerberg comes out and is like, no, this is definitely happening, and you just have to deal with it.
Right.
So, given all these changes, I've been talking a lot, sorry. Given all these changes, what should marketers and creators consider as we're planning content for Q3 and then Q4 and beyond? Because it's like, do we do more video? Do we not? Do we do images? Do we not? We're just kind of like, help us figure this out, please.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but you are going to have to do more video. I'm trying to get away from my window that's right behind me. But yeah, they're going to keep pushing video. I mean, I remember at Social Media Marketing World when I went, it was like 6 years ago, and they were like, video's king. And it's finally really coming to fruition. So as much as I don't always love being on video, and I feel like in some ways it's more work and more, like I have to actually get ready in the morning and look decent. But I do feel like people are going to have to get more comfortable with doing video and work it into their content calendar and think about ways to do it that doesn't have to necessarily be this full production. You can do things that are simple, like what you were doing in the office that day. You could do a product shot that, you just are showing it marching across the desk, doing little things like that. So you don't have to make everything be this just amazing work of art with high production value. So I think people need to keep that in mind. And since there is so much video out there, it's going to get shuffled in the mix. So you don't have to be perfect. I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm on video, I have to look a certain way, talk a certain way, I have this perfect background. But the more video I see, the more people are just putting it out there. Another thing that I would say is since video it's not just an Instagram thing, it's throughout social media. If you can think of ways to create that video outside of the platforms so you can repurpose it, it's going to save you a lot of time. So like I have some restaurant clients and I'll go shoot little snippets of them cooking and of the food. And then we'll create reels outside, reels and TikToks. We'll just create little mini videos and then put them up on Instagram and TikTok. And, other businesses might be using it for idea pins or YouTube shorts. So figuring out ways to multi-purpose those videos is going to be really key.
Gotcha. So one of the things, I'm going to bring up some comments here from our friends when we asked the question.
Yeah.
Lisa goes, IG, I feel manipulated. So tell us how you really feel, Lisa.
I said, be honest.
Yeah. So Carrie says, it's all right. I've been posting less on our business account, not seeing much uptick in terms of engagement or followers. I think that's probably across the board for a lot of people. Brian says, I'm only posting on IG and haven't spent any time scrolling over the last few months. So he's just kind of posting and running. And then Sabrina says, I'm happy with the rollback, but I am rolling with it because everything changes. You have to know how to work it. That is very, very true. Very, very true. I
like Sabrina's other comment, too, about video doesn't have to be a movie.
Yeah.
People don't have to be in it. Exactly. My restaurant clients, same thing. And then also, I think people, you see all kinds of people just showing up the way that they are. It's just a matter of how comfortable you are with doing it. But, and there's a lot of fun things you can do where you don't have to be on camera.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
So in that interview, Instagram CEO said that the platform is naturally shifting to video content regardless of the newest updates. So it's kind of like, you can gripe all you want, but we're doing this, So,
Right.
and he says, in a world where more of the friend content has gone from feed into stories and DMs, I think the feed is going to become more public in nature. So, honestly, at this point, Corey, what is setting Instagram apart from TikTok or YouTube? So, what's the difference? What it sounds like they're all trying to be the same thing.
I mean, not really a lot. You can still, post photos, carousels, that kind of thing, but beyond that, there's not a huge difference. I would say they might have, some advantage with still being connected to Facebook, with the ads and things like that. But you can
Right.
do an ad on TikTok as well, and you can do advertising through YouTube. So, I mean, I feel like we're just seeing this great melding of like all the apps are the same. And I think Instagram is they're just watching TikTok and they're saying, okay, look at how fast that's growing. What can we do that's like TikTok? What can we do?
Right.
So, yeah, there's not a huge difference anymore. I think it really boils down to where your audience is. And if your audience is still mostly on Instagram, then, use that platform. If it's more on TikTok, use that platform. You really have to be mindful of who's watching what, where. So,
So, really quickly, Sabrina has, she's a good person. She's like, oh, just roll with it. But, a lot of us, and you as an author, I mean, it's with all these changes, I know you're probably pulling your hair out going, we just wrote this chapter. Now I got to go change
nuts.
it. Yeah. And so should brands or business continue to invest time into something that feels like it's like shifting quicksand, for example, or should we just kind of like Sabrina says, roll with it, create one piece of content and try to get it to work for everything? Like if I was doing a little a TikTok on this new Shure Nora microphone, should I go ahead and just plan on making a reel with it, making a TikTok with it, making it a Facebook story? I mean, should I do all those things? Is that kind of the best practice you're telling your clients now?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends who it is. Cause again, I go back to, I'm like audience first. So where's your audience? If you feel like they're on all three of those places, then yeah, creating one piece of content that can, do double, triple duty would be the way to go. Just so you're not in content creation mode
Right.
indefinitely. Yeah. So the more that you can repurpose, I think the easier you're going to find it, and just really I try to kind of hone into maybe two different audiences or two different platforms and just get really good at those. Because when you try to be everywhere, it doesn't always work well because you can't engage all those places unless you have a huge team that can do that for you. But if you're someone like me that, it's me.
Right.
If I'm everywhere and then people are commenting and I'm not getting back, that to me is worse than you not being there at all.
That's a great point.
So where should we, businesses, brands, creators, go if we just want to post beautiful photography and have this easy user experience? Because beautiful photos have always been integral to the marketing experience, right? Both as a consumer and as an advertiser. And for many brands and consumers, this is still the way a lot of people like to communicate. They want just like to look at a pretty image. So where do we go if that's what we want to produce?
I mean, honestly, I don't know of that place anymore because it's not Instagram on its own. Now, I will say if that is what you're trying to create on Instagram, I mean, there is still the option of following and favorites. So you could just really encourage your audience, like, hey, if you just want to see these nice photos, put me in your favorites. And you could make your own experience be like your favorites file or your favorites feed could be all photos. But other than that, I don't actually know of an app anymore that's just, really nice photos.
I'm showing my age. I'm like, I just want there to be Flickr again.
Don't you? And remember the old Instagram logo that looked like a Polaroid? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the old.
Yeah.
So we are old, Grace. Yeah.
We are old. Okay, so you mentioned like your audience being there, go there if your audience is there. So what is the current demographic on Instagram? So if someone was to say to you, I want to reach X, Y, and Z, and the answer is Instagram, duh. What would X, Y, and Z be?
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny that you say it like X, Y, and Z because generationally, like Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, and Gen Z are all out there. So the breakdown right now, I think, is somewhere about 31% is 25 to 34, or sorry, 31% is 18 to 25, and then another 31% is 25 30 to 34, and then the rest is some combination of, it is aging up. I mean, I'm over 34 and I'm out there. And yeah, so I would say Instagram still is a very broad reaching area. Like Facebook, it is aging up. So you still do have, like, my daughter's 14, she's on Instagram, but then my dad, who is 80, is also on Instagram. So now that's a little bit, my dad's more of an early adopter, so he does lots of things like that. But I would say, yeah, Instagram, it really does cover from ages 13 up through, I would say, like 60s and up. So it's still a good place to catch a really wide audience. TikTok it's also getting more broad, but I think it still has a younger slant to it. So, but it's going to age up. Everything does, I mean,
Yeah.
Facebook now, my kids would just rather die than have stuff posted
Oh
on
my
Facebook.
I know.
That's true. Yes.
So, yeah, and it's like, but then I see, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get in the
You're
right
good. You're good.
spot. I see people my age are on Facebook, and then it's really it's in the grandparent set for sure. I mean, they love the Facebook.
The
So.
Facebook.
The Facebook.
They do love the Facebook. Like
They
the
love
internet.
the Facebook. Yes, yes.
So a couple things we got from our audience. So there's a great question, but first Leslie says 35 and rolling with the punches. Gary Stockton says, I may not look it, but I'm over 34. Yes. And Sabrina agrees. Yes, it's aging up. And Dave says there must be different levels on Instagram. And I think, it's like my mom technically is on Instagram, but she only looks at stuff from her grandkids and her kids.
Right.
So, I mean, so the whole thinking of, the director and Zuck and the director of Instagram is probably, okay, then I'm going to showing them, recommended stuff so they don't have any choice but to maybe click on something, which I don't know how well that's going to go over with my mom, but we'll see. She's like, why is this stuff on my phone? And I'll have to deal with that. But this is a great question from Leslie. She goes, what is a good app to use to create short clips for videos? Because since we're going to have to create videos and, a lot of it's done on the phone, do you have any of your favorite apps that you use to create your reels with?
Yeah. So two that I like are InShot or CapCut. And they will allow you to do, all of your editing and add music and things like that. The only thing you need to be careful of is with adding the music is that sometimes you'll bring it in. Like I've brought things in over to Instagram and it will say this, Sony Music does not let you do this. And then it'll say, this video has been banned in Russia. And then it gives you a whole list of places it's banned. So that's a pain. I had that experience. So you just have to be careful of that. But I mean, the other thing you can do is have it pretty much finished and then add music natively in each app. So yeah, but CapCut and InShot are good for those.
Yeah, I like for video editing, I use Video Leap from Inlight. They have a lot of good stuff. That's a good one to use. And if you're a nerd, gosh, Filmic Pro is great to shoot video on because you can control everything with your camera. If you're really wanting to get if you're a photographer or a videographer, that's a really great app as well. It's a pricey. I think it's like one of the more expensive apps I paid for, but it's worth it. So, Um, let's see some other questions. Let's see. Oh, Gary said this. He says I posted a random pic the other day and was surprised to see it was turned into a reel, and he thought that was weird. Is that something that's
Hmm.
happening? I've never seen that. I've never done
I've
that with
never
a pic yet.
I mean, I know that you can do it,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never heard of it being done for you just automatically.
Yeah.
That's
Gary, are you sure you pressed
strange.
the right button, Gary? Now, if it was a
Oh,
video, I was just teasing Gary. He's good. He is a smart cookie. I'll tell you that. But I was wondering. I know that their videos are going to turn into reels, so
Yes.
that's one thing. So that'll be. I know we'll have a lot of questions about that. And he does like using Filmic double take for portrait video because I believe it takes both the front and the back camera at the same time, which is really really
Mm-hmm.
cool. All right, so
Yeah.
our next section is some new Instagram features, and they kind of rolled out some of these two new features. They rolled out the new business search tools within IG Maps, and they also have this new boost promotion option for Reels clips. So, can you explain these new features, Corey? Starting with the business search tool, and talk about that.
Yeah, so I haven't experienced it myself yet. So I'm going off of what I've read, but it seems that it will be a new map feature,
Mm-hmm.
and businesses will be shown on the map. And I believe it will show them more like if people are tagging a business, it might pop up on that map. So, say you search San Francisco, then you might see, things, different businesses pop up. Now, I'm not sure if it's taking it from, just all users and the ones that are most tagged, or if it's considering your own friends when suggesting these things. But it is going to show some more local businesses that are on the map
Mm-hmm.
and are on Instagram.
Gotcha. Um, let's see, and let's talk about the second feature, which is I'm sorry, Grace, I jumped ahead. You go ahead and ask your question.
oh no, I was going to ask how we can integrate this into our creative and content planning, but seeing as that it's an experimental thing, I was just like, we can move on to because
Well,
I think this real clip is more relevant, right?
yeah, the
Or
only thing about this map thing, it was really interesting on the brick and mortar kind of aspect of it, if it rolls out, is like a lot of smart businesses are making like Instagrammable spots in their business. They have like a
Mhm.
wall that's set up for that and all this kind of thing. And so with this maps thing, if you're in a big city and you're going around and there's some cool stuff, that might be a really interesting way to get foot traffic in your store. That's the only thing I was thinking about.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I could see a boba tea shop or
Mm-hmm.
something, having a cute wall, and then everyone's taking the photo in front of the wall and tagging them. And so they have a higher likelihood of showing up on the map.
Yeah. And so if your business, all I would do is paint some sort of wings on your wall, because then everybody will stand in front of it
Yeah,
and get their picture taken. And
that's true.
I mean, that's all they do. So let's talk about the second feature, where the boost promotion, especially for small businesses. I think this might be a feature if their demo, like you mentioned before, is on Instagram.
Yes. So now you can boost a reel. Now, a lot of people don't realize that you could already create an ad out of a reel. But it was a little tricky because you had to do it in Facebook Ads Manager. So I've actually been doing that for some time now, and if you've seen ad like real ads pop up,
Hmm.
that's how that's done. But
Okay.
the boost will make it a lot easier for anybody to just do it right on their phone instead of Ads Manager is a little bit more complex and a little bit more complicated. So if you've ever done a boost on Instagram just for, regular photo or video, there should be a button, right? A blue button so you can see it right there. And then you can pick all of your different options, the audience that you want, the location, any interests, that kind of thing, demographics, and then tell it where you want to lead people, either to like a website or back to your profile. Um, but there are some conditions.
Hmm.
So it has to be less than 60 seconds. So even though Reels have bumped up to 90 seconds, the ad has to be less than 60.
Okay.
You also can't use some of the third-party tools that they offer. So like if you wanted to put a GIF on there, well, that comes through Giphy, and so they don't allow that to be part of your
Mm.
boost. Copyrighted music, you have to be really careful about stuff like that. So you'd have to use music that's not copyrighted. There's a few. Let's see. I wrote it down because there's a
Oh,
few
I think you can't do filters either. I think you can't,
filters.
There's a
Yes,
which
filter.
is
that's it.
something that could really slip by people if they're not careful, because so many people use filters.
Mhm.
So, Grace, I have a follow-up question, but you follow up with yours
No, you
first.
go ahead. So, well, she
Okay.
answered my question about the parameters, and
Right.
I was questioning because people do like to use filters, and I've noticed that a lot of the filters are more, when Instagram first came out, the filters were all crazy, and now they're like just a shimmer or it's something very subtle.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm glad you called that out, because that is something that, like me looking at Instagram, I don't always notice that, like, because or it'll do something with the background where it's very subtle. So that's a good
Right.
call out.
Yeah, I have the beard filter on right now, so it works
Yeah.
really well for me. The one question I wanted to ask you, so because I know you do a lot of reels, because I follow you on Instagram and I see the stuff you're putting out. What works good for an ad? Like, what type of reel is worth putting money behind? Because sometimes they're just
Yeah.
like I'm pointing to this or whatever you're doing. But is there certain things that you look for? Like, okay, I'm going to take this and make it an ad. Is it based on it gets a lot of engagement and you give it a little more juice, or is it I know this is going to be an ad from the beginning and I'm going to work it that way?
Yeah, so the ads that I've done for Reels, I haven't used this boost feature. I'm not sure if I don't even think I have it on my phone yet. But
Mhm.
in terms of the ads that I've done before, they have been, they were ads already, and this was just part of that. So they weren't, Reels first and then turned into ads. They were ads that just happened to also go to Reels.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different. But I would say if you are going to spend the money and you're doing like a Reels first type of ad, or doing one of these boosts that's just going to be on Reels, then this is your chance to be a little bit more salesy. So, make sure if you have a product, you're showing it, or if you're doing a service, really talk about the features and benefits of that service, and then make it easy for them. So whatever you're linking back to, make it the easiest way for them to buy from you, versus making them go through a bunch of hoops, like making them go to your profile first and then to a link in
Right.
bio and all that stuff. So I always say people don't like jumping through hoops to buy from you, so just make it as easy as possible.
So on that note, a little follow-up question would be, so I would think because they make it really stripped down, like you can't use filters, you can't use Giphies, and a lot of people put arrows that are animated from that on their thing to point to a call to action. So would it be the best practice to actually use one of these third-party tools that we mentioned before, film it on your phone so it's on your your photo reel, and then upload it to Instagram instead of doing it natively inside of the Instagram app? Because if you forget something, you could reload it. I mean, if you already had it, shot on a different thing.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, you could do it all through a third party as well. Yeah, I'm trying to think, because now they said you can't do. Well, I think it's different.
Like,
if
I
you
think
did
they
it-
meant
you
TikTok.
create
like
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a third party. Yeah.
It
So I
just
would.
seems like you can't do a lot to it. So you're going to have to be either
Yeah.
really creative or just, I don't even think you're supposed can you use stickers on it?
I think it's if they're interactive stickers.
You can't.
No.
Right. But just
Yeah,
like
so no,
titles
like-
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you'll just have to do it in the video, right?
Right.
So like you'll have to add extra things in the video and not add things to it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to, I'm going to pull up this question.
Yeah. So I had a question. So this was a question from Leslie. She says, I used to be able to do live video on Facebook and it would allow me to share it to my Instagram account. Is this feature gone, or am I still trying to roll with the punches? So that's a common question. I have a hard time because I'll see a video on Instagram and I want to share it on Facebook and vice
Yeah.
versa. And I'm like, they make it so hard to just share from the platform. So that's a good question. So would you be able to share your live onto Instagram?
I'm not sure. I don't do a lot of Facebook lives.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So she said she used to be able to do that, but I didn't
Right.
think that that was something usually like it kept it very separate. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
how long ago she was able to do that because
Yeah.
I thought 'cause I know I've heard of people like, oh, I have my phone over here doing my Facebook Live and my,
Hmm.
one over here. So it sounds like she might need to use something like, like an Ecamm or a
Right.
StreamYard or something
Yeah.
to facilitate that.
You can't.
Yeah.
So there's not really a good way right now to go live through a third party app. It's all you have to do it through their program because they still haven't opened up their API. Last
Mm,
I heard. So there's some workarounds around it, but you're really in a gray area. And I always caution people if you're not for sure and you're not sure in the terms of service, don't risk it because it would be really bad if you lost access to your account, which has
that is
happened to
true.
people.
Yeah.
This is a great question from Carolee, and I think I know what she's talking about. She goes, I had that suggested. They stitched together 7 images and had music options available, and the images changed to the music cadence. So she thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Is that new, or can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, that's new, and I forget what they call it. I actually had that pop up on mine the other day, and it is kind of fun. Although if you don't want to do it, it's a little like I struggled to get rid of it. But
Right.
anyway, when you say you want to do a reel, and then there's a little button up at the top right, and I can't remember what it's called, but you'll see it, and then it'll say, okay, we're going to show you several different music
Right.
options, and then it does it to the beat. Now I didn't like how it
Yeah.
sent it to the beat. So um yeah, it was a little bit weird, so I didn't use that option, and that's when I had trouble getting rid of that option. But it can be really cool. It did it to one of my videos, so that was strange. Like, I think if you uploaded, say, 10 images, just straight images, and had it go to the music, it may have worked a little bit better, but mine was on, a video, and it wasn't like a talking video, it was somebody cooking,
Hmm.
but it was a little weird.
Yeah. So I just came back from the Wish and I had a bunch of stories and so it suggested, hey, put this to music, and it was some really weird music for the suggested one, and it was synced pretty well. But I went to change
Mhm,
it to like they had a bunch of Disney songs like Wish Upon a Star or
mhm.
whatever, and I tried to put to that, and you're right, it was not to the music at all. It was just like,
Yeah.
hey, we're just gonna throw this out there. But there are some really cool, and I know Enlight, who I mentioned before, did Video Leap, and they have some other apps that actually I think it's called Beat Something by Enlight. If you search for it in the store, they have some third-party apps that do really, really well. If you want to sync a bunch of things and have it to the beat and have it fit
Mhm.
into the length of a story, so
Yeah.
Instagram, if you're listening, go buy that app and use that one because it
Yeah,
works
there's
a lot better.
also a little bit different. There's also Reels templates. So that's a little bit different, and you'll find that more towards the bottom of the screen. And it doesn't show up. I don't know when it decides to show up and when it doesn't, because sometimes I see it and sometimes I don't.
Hmm.
But a lot of times I'll see it also when someone has several images that they're putting up and they're timed specifically.
Hmm.
So that can be a cool one. If someone's already made a reel and they timed it out perfectly to the music, and then there's a template button, you can use that, and then you just upload, say, 10 photos, and then it'll follow that exact thing. So
Oh, that's cool.
you used to see more people. I don't know if you've noticed this, but people will on their reel put overlay like this image 10 seconds,
Hmm.
1.2 seconds,
Hmm.
all that. Well, that now you don't have to do that yourself. You can use the template. So that's pretty cool. And it's kind of similar to the other one, but it's using someone else's reel to create your reel.
So where
Hmm.
can you find that at? Like if you wanted to do that, is it easy to find?
Well, so it's what I've seen it just when you're watching someone's reel
Oh,
and
okay.
say, yeah, so it'll say like if you're in the full screen, it'll have a little thing that says template, and then you can click on that, and then you can start creating your reel based on their template.
Can you save
Hmm.
templates? Like, could you have multiple ones, or is it just that one and done?
No, I think you just have to create it right then. I mean, you could make your reel and then keep it in drafts.
Mm-hmm.
But drafts are a little like tricky because you log out or there's some kind of glitch. So I don't usually save anything in drafts for more than like a day or two because I'm just,
Mm.
Yeah.
plus
Right.
I'm in and out of a lot of different accounts. So I'm just like, oh, mm-mm. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel your pain because it's stuff like I thought, oh, this is great, and then it disappeared. I'm like, curses, Instagram. Before we go any further, I just want to do another shout out. Who I never curse at is our friends over at Ecamm
Oh.
with socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. You can find out all about them. We love it. This is what we produce the show on. And they've just come out with a new podcast called The Flow. So do us a favor, go over there and subscribe, rate, and review. Search on your favorite podcast player. You can find it. They're doing it every Tuesday on their YouTube channel, and you can also subscribe to that if you want to watch it live and ask your questions. But very, very cool. It's all about how to create a podcast video. So very, very, very cool stuff because that's where it's going, because I think YouTube is like
It
the
is.
biggest place where people are discovering podcasts now, and not even Apple or some of
Really?
the other ones. Yeah, so it's pretty
That's
cool.
interesting.
Yeah. So, all right, Grace, take this because I'm not really sure how to say collab. My daughter always makes fun of the way I say it, so I'll let you do it.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Jeff. You did a good job. So,
Well,
well, I wanted to wrap up the show with a conversation about Instagram influencer or Instagram creator collaborations, because that is a big part of the ecosystem in Instagram. Because as we know, there's a lot of money to be made on the platform. So I wanted to talk about what are some effective influencing marketing collab tips or tactics. Like, with the right knowledge and the right tools, you can certainly grow a following and make a lot of money on Instagram, even if you're not exactly a well-known celebrity. We're finding a lot of people with smaller, dedicated audiences tend to do really well. So let's talk about how to do it. So what tactics and trends? I
Sure.
mean, just generally, we could do a whole show on this. That was, I was like,
Oh
there's a
yeah,
whole
you
show.
you could.
Yeah, but like, so
Yeah,
what?
well,
Yeah, go ahead.
you did mention kind of the micro influencer, and that is getting a lot more traction. So just because you have 1,000, 2,000 followers doesn't mean you can't market yourself as an influencer, as long as you pick a niche or niche. I don't know which way do you say
don't ask me. I'll say it wrong.
it. Okay,
Whatever. Yeah.
we'll go with niche.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, the first step would be pick a niche. So, are you a foodie, or maybe a foodie that specializes in only Asian food? Or are you a beauty influencer, or more specific than that, like you just do makeup only? So that would be the first thing, especially if you're trying, if you don't have a ton of followers, is to be really niched down. The other thing, because I do work with some influencers for the restaurants that I work with, is to have a clear offering. So the first step would be on your bio, just say, open to collabs and how they can contact you, whether it's just through the DMs or if you want to send them to a special email. Just let people know, like, I'm open to this. And that's helpful when I'm looking for someone to know, like, okay, they say they're open to collabs. So hopefully they're a little bit more, they know what to do. Now, that's not always the case, but it's a good start. Then the next tip I would say is, be very clear with your offerings. Like,
Okay.
have either a set price or set, like, I'm going to do 3 stories for X, or I'm going to do, a carousel for you and a reel and 3 stories, and it costs this much. Because I will tell you that influencer charges are they're so wildly, like, all over the
Right.
board. Because I have, with a restaurant, I have a lot of smaller foodie accounts that they'll just come in for food. Like, you don't even have to pay them.
Right.
Like I want the food, I'm growing my account, and I want to take an awesome photo of all this food and get, a free meal for my entire family.
Hmm.
So some people are just more than happy to do a trade like that. And then you've got other people that charge very specifically for each post. And then you've got some people that will charge, thousands of dollars. And then you've got the big celebrities that of course are charging, $1 million for a post. But I would say be very clear about that when someone contacts you, or if you contact someone, about what your pricing is and what you're offering. Because people like me, I don't always know what to expect, because I'll talk to one influencer and they're like, yeah, I just want to come in, take a bunch of photos, just, the food's great, blah, blah, blah. And then I've got another one that says, oh, it's going to be, $50 a post. And then I've got someone else it's going to be $600 a post. So, as someone looking for influencers, it's very helpful for me to know upfront, what your rates are and what you're going to do for me. Let's see, what else?
So on that note, are there like clauses in like the contract where it's like, okay, you own the content, or it's my content and I'll leave it up for 6 months, a year, whatever? I mean, is that all varied too? I mean, I'm sure that people who want free meals are like, just give me free meals and you can have whatever you want. I mean, because I've done that. I do it now, right now. If anyone wants to buy me a dinner, I will do it. But I'm sure that, so what kind of like what some of like one of the paid influencers, I guess I'm looking at, are they very specific in like how long, who owns what, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, that again depends on the influencer,
Okay.
but you should have some clarity behind, if they're providing you photos, do you own those photos now? And how can you reuse them? For instance, I have one of my restaurants is a chain. And so I had an influencer come in to an LA location. And so I'm like, well, can I use that for my Sacramento location? And she said, yes, that was fine. But that's something you definitely want to be clear about. Now, I haven't experienced a lot of foodie influencers that have contracts, but it's really a good idea, because not only with the, more the media kit side of what you're going to actually charge, but how your images can be used. Because if you're intending like, okay, this is meant to be on the site for, 30 days and then taken down and they can never use it again. And then the business has a totally different perspective. And they're like, oh, well, I paid you, $300. So now I can use it in my brochures and, anywhere I want. So it is a good idea, if you care about where your images are being used, to be very straightforward with that.
Grace, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about the influencer side, like what you need to put forth and what you need to provide and present. So on the brand side, what is your advice for making a successful partnership with influencers or with partners? Like what makes for a successful partner program or partnership program or whatever? Everyone has a different name for it, but like on the brand side, like what could we do on our side to make sure that like this is a fruitful experience for both of us?
Right. Well, I would ask any of the influencers ahead of time, to show you some of the other things that they've done before, just to see like how things are carried out. And even you could ask for references to see, like, because you don't know, someone could charge you $1,000, and if you don't have any reference point for that, it's like, well, are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? So I would say, ask them to see a few other client accounts. If it's, if you're spending some money, if it's something small, I don't go through all that,
Yeah.
hassle. But if I'm going to spend a decent amount of money, ask for that. And again, just be very clear up front. And I think if you are thinking you're going to have a partnership with someone, say someone that's going to do multiple posts, they're going to show up, every month they're going to do 3 posts or something like that. I would definitely put together a contract with very clear expectations on both ends about when things are due, what you're paying for each thing, how they can be used, so that there's no surprises at the end when someone's unhappy.
That's great advice.
That's good
So,
advice.
we mentioned media kits, and a lot of people may not know what those are, and there's once again those vary depending on who you're talking about. So, what do you think creators should include in their media kits? For example, like what metrics do you need to show?
Sure. Well, I mean, I like them to first start with a nice, little headshot,
Mhm.
and then a bio of kind of what they're about. But yeah, there's definitely metrics that you want to share. If you're like Instagram only, then you might just share like, I have this many followers on Instagram. This is my typical engagement rate. This is the, maybe number of followers that were after a recent promotion. Maybe show an example, like a case study of a past one that worked well. But yeah, I would say engagement rate, followers are the main things. Most of the ones that I've seen have multiple platforms on there. So they'll list, this is my Instagram following, TikTok following, Facebook following if they're on that, or even LinkedIn. So there are some LinkedIn influencers. So yeah, I think the main thing people want to see are the engagement rate and the followers. And then I would always ask for examples, because
Right.
followers, it's tricky because you can buy followers. So,
So that was my next question, was like, okay, so you do a lot of stuff, and like Sabrina says, foodies are awesome. So yeah, you do the foodie kind of thing. How many followers do you need to be attractive to brands? So on Instagram. So let's say you're looking at somebody for this restaurant that's coming in, wants to do this. So can you give us like what you would look at for somebody who wants just free food, and then somebody who wants it for, I want to have $600 per post or whatever. So what kind of numbers are you looking at?
Yeah. So my restaurant that I'm looking for is local. So like when I'm looking for an influencer, I'm usually looking for a local influencer. So that I'm not looking usually for super high numbers. So they might have 1,000 followers, but often they'll have 1,000 followers, but then I'll look at the posts that they post. And if they have, if they're getting 200 to 300 likes on a post and they're getting lots of engagement, then I'm fine with 1,000 followers. I'm more interested in the engagement than the actual follower number. As long as they're getting true engagement, that's what I want, because I want to make sure that other people are seeing their stuff and engaging with it. So for a free influencer, yeah, I would say around 1,000 or more. The last one we paid for, I think, had 60,000 followers, and it's a little bit easier to find bigger influencers because this restaurant is down in Orange County. So there's there's foodies everywhere.
Right.
But it really depends on your location. Now, Sacramento, where I'm located, we have another restaurant, and I have yet to find a big foodie that has, 50,000 followers. They're all fairly small. So you're going to have to look at your market and whether you're looking to do something specifically in your market and how large that is, and kind of base it on that.
Yeah. Sabrina has a great point. She goes, where are the followers, and a little engagement is also golden. So I think that's very, very true, is finding out where those followers are. And so Gary goes, hey, I'm in Orange County and I have a big booty. I think you're a big foodie. I'm not going to say the booty thing. Well, it can be either way. I have both. I'm a big foodie and have a big booty.
I mean, they
well,
usually
if you're big food, they go together, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Perfectly. I've had way too much pulled pork and ribs here in Texas. So go ahead, Grace.
Go ahead.
No,
I said, are there any? So we traditionally, when we think about Instagram and creator collabs and brand collabs, a lot of things come down to sponsored posts, affiliate programs, and brand sponsorships. And are there any other opportunities for creators beyond those three things? Like, are there any other ways to monetize your following or your content, or to uh, create revenue directly through Instagram?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people choose to do digital products. So if you are, getting this massive following of people, or just a really niche audience that appreciates what you do, a lot of people will turn to making some kind of ebook, or maybe they'll do a workshop. Like maybe for a foodie, maybe you want to do a workshop on becoming a foodie, and becoming a successful foodie. So there's ways that you can turn your knowledge, and I mean, I'm talking a lot about foodies because that's the influencers I work with, but there's
Yes.
all sorts of influencers. Fitness is a big one, obviously, beauty, where you can turn your knowledge that you've learned from working with these companies into some type of digital product. So yeah, once you learn enough things, there's a lot that you can put into different ebooks or checklists, or any of those things that you can sell.
Awesome.
Very good.
As you can tell, Corey Walker is amazing and knows her stuff on Instagram. So I just want to let you guys know that make sure to go check out her books. If you're watching on Amazon at jeffc.live, you can actually go and click on those in the carousel, or you can go and just to Amazon and search for Corey Walker, because that's what I did. And you can get her books come right up there, and you can get them on, physical copies or Kindle, which is what I love, because my wife has told me I can't buy any more books because they take up too much space. So, that's how I rebel. I just buy them all on Kindle now. So, Corey, where can people find out more about you, all the stuff that you do, and your services?
Sure. Well, my website is kind of the umbrella of where you can find everything. So that's right below, themarketingspecialist.com. So that's the best way to find, if you want to find a little bit about everything, my services, all my handles on different social media. But if you want to follow me, I'm particularly active, obviously, on Instagram. So that is at Corey C. Walker, C in between there. And then I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So surprisingly, that has been my happy mix. I've kind of downgraded the Facebook and have upgraded LinkedIn. So
we're going live right now there now. So that's where Sabrina's watching from. So very, very cool.
Yep.
Oh, good. Yeah. See?
So make sure you guys go to The Marketing Specialist if you're listening to our podcast. And we announced this before we had our break, but where can people find Grace Duffy now? Because there's a new location. So
I work for Volley now. I lead their growth team at Volley. And you can find us on Volley, the show, me and Jeff on Volley, at socialmedianewslive.com/chat. So
yes.
socialmedianewslive.com/chat. And we have a Volley group in there. And it's a great way to talk to us throughout the week. Jeff and I are both pretty active on there, and it's the fastest way to find me. So if you want to find me or Jeff, talk to us during the week, riff, whatever, send us your questions about we need to do a better job of announcing our shows. We haven't.
I know.
It's
been a crazy week, but yeah.
Well,
so
it's okay.
I know Gary's in there. Gary's in there. Brian's in there. A bunch of other people are in there. So it's really great. So once again, socialmedianewslive.com/chat. I mean, we talk about everything. We've talked about, the metaverse. We've asked questions. And the cool thing is you ask your questions like Gary's done a couple times. We're able to pull that into the show where we can actually play your video and answer your questions. So, Corey, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. All of our guests, Sabrina, all of our they're guests. They're like family. So we've got Sabrina, we've got Gary, Brian was in here. All sorts of folks were coming in asking questions. Summer, Carol Lee, Leslie, all of you, we thank you so much for watching us today. We know that you could watch a bunch of things during this hour, and we appreciate you watching us. We would love for you guys to give us a rating and review over on your favorite podcast player, because that really helps us get the podcast out. Our next show is Friday, August 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, and you can always join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Amazon Live. Thanks so much, folks. Really appreciate you, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
To The Flow by Ecamm, the show where we dive into the workflows you need to launch, produce, and promote your video podcast. I'm Katie Fox.
And I'm Doc Brock, the community manager here at Ecamm.
And we're here to help you find your flow.
Guys, this is going to be a cool show that we're putting together to help you launch your podcast.
If words like editing really freak you out, you're in the right place, because we're going to talk about how it can be much, much easier than what you have likely in your head.
We want to give you an opportunity to get with the flow. You see what I did there? Get with the flow. I think this is going to be fun. We do get a lot of questions from the community about launching podcasts or running podcasts with Ecamm, and thought it'd be a great idea to give you the workflow, like how to do your podcast. And I asked Katie to come along. First of all, make sure you lock this down. Make sure you put this in your podcast, subscribe, so you can get to us as we put these out.
And you will catch us Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, and obviously wherever your favorite podcasts, including us, are listened to.
Come and visit us for the flow. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Doc. And we'll be in your ears soon.